Basically, so what is exactly we will look into that CIA. So before going to the CIA, we need to understand about information security principles. The IS principles in generally where that information security refers to the processes and methodologies designed and implemented. So whatever the process which we are taking care of with respect to our business and the respect to methodologies, so we design for to deliver a product and to do a business. So but we need to protect them in the form of whatever the data which we have, whether it is in the print media, electronic medium, or any other form of confidential data, private and sensitive information, or the data from unauthorized access. See, basically we need to secure that data which we are having from unauthorized access, unauthorized use, or misusing our data, disclosing disclosing about our data, or maybe sometimes somebody may come into our organization and they may distract our data because they are not able to copy paste it, so that entire data they may distract, or sometimes they may be modified, so sometimes they may disrupt that. So all these things we need to take care of as part of the information security. What is the major difference between cyber security and cyber safety? Cyber safety is with respect to an individual, how an individual can take the precautions with respect to the cyber security comes under cyber safety. But cyber security is majorly we use this term to protect our information. For protecting that information, we may use some kind of devices, security implications, all under comes cyber security. So cyber security is more on organization level, cyber safety is more on individual organizations. But remember that all individuals are part of some organization, so that cyber safety comes along with that cyber security. Then when information security is the a kind of a populated environment where cyber security, cyber safety are part of them as a sample. Let's say the superset and subsets. Superset is the information security and subsets are cyber security, cyber safety, or any cyber infrastructure security or physical security. All are subsets of information security, as information security is the basically more on a kind of a superset, because information is very important. If suppose, let's say, if when I'm posting in a message in my Facebook that I'm in on LTC in Kashmir, what is that means? So I am telling to my attackers, my whomever planning to attack me, attack my house to steal, I'm giving information publicly. Am I right? So in case if I'm not posting that message, so maybe people doesn't know about me. So anything which we need to protect, that information should be also confidential as much as. Otherwise, what happens? So the people may be trying that. Another example I can tell you that when Windows is releasing any operating system, there are a lot of people will try to check what kind of vulnerabilities would be there before release. That's what now Microsoft is doing. What before release of a product, it is sharing with different kind of Microsoft users to test by themselves to understand whether there are any vulnerabilities are there. So that is where they are looking about now sharing it. That let's say take example the Windows 2020 server operating system we have seen in the 2018 itself, while it is started design and post beta version kind of thing like that. So some people and privileged users will get these operating systems, and definitely they will test it. So that is where information is very important to protect. Uh, then infrastructure security, physical security, all securities will come as part of the information security. So information security principles in general, we called the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That is what generally called as a CIA principle. But non-repudiation and authenticity also is supported principle. So further authentication and authorization also we will learn one by one. Let's say this is what which we are looking into, that normal flow. A person is talking to another person. So if the delivered or person is sending an email to another person where it is delivered, so both are happy. Whomever they wanted to inform, they informed through email. Communication was happen. Let's say this information is interrupted by somebody. Let's take an example. Let's say in our organization, you have to use only gov.in email ID or nic.in email ID. In case, if you are planning to use Gmail, because of the organization policy at firewall level, they were stopped. System administrator, as part of the policy itself, is stopping. That means when you are trying to use your Gmail, so automatically that packets would be stopped at, interrupted at particular proxy level or firewall level. Am I right? So your message of Gmail never delivered from your organization. So this is what called interruption. Am I right? So that means what? Availability. This is the problem of availability. So you wanted to use Gmail in your office because of the policy of whatever the policy, they were not allowing you use that Gmail. So that is one example. Now coming to the second example, I may say that if I know your Gmail ID, anybody ready to share your Gmail ID here in publicly? So let's say example, whether you wanted to share or not share. If anybody wanted to share, definitely you please tell us, so that I would like to see one email ID. It's only to share with me if you don't have any problem. Anybody would like to share your Gmail ID? Okay. Yes. So thank you. Basically, yeah, enough email IDs. So I can easily understand by seeing your email ID, because your name is representing. Am I right? Both whatever the emails I'm seeing, that all emails are representing about your name. Somewhere your name is there. Here and there added characters are there. Of course, suppose let's say I wanted to play with you. I wanted to make you not access this email. What I can do? So yes, somebody is saying that some email ID. Yes, correct. So what is that I can do? I can change your password. How do I can change? Because whatever I'm getting in my mind, 5 email IDs, 5 password, different password I can give it. See, whether I'm able to access your Gmail or not is the secondary thing. For me, is that I wanted to make you not access. I wanted to make you against the availability your Gmail itself for yours. So I'm giving wrong passwords, 5 passwords. What happens? So definitely your account would be locked. Yes, correct. So your account would be locked. Am I right? Once you lock it, of course, there is a good system. Might be Google was given. You are using your mobile, you can reset. Am I right? So immediately you can reset. So what happens if I'm writing a script in such a way that every 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the script runs and opens in a Gmail in the browser or in the command prompt and gives your user ID, and any different 5 password will give that, and so that your account would be locked. This script continuously runs for every 2 to 3 minutes. So what happens? You are trying to reset, but by the time it is locked. You try to reset, you change your password and trying to get into second time, the password again. By the time it takes minimum 2 minutes. So it would be again locked. So what has been done here? So we are continuously locking your account, your email ID, not to access by yourself. So that is where the availability. But please do not do these things. So if they are giving in a complaint, there would be takes definitely some time, but they can track. So that is where you need to understand. I can make everywhere denial of service attack. It is a denial of your Gmail service for you, your own Gmail service for you. We are able to stop it. If this script, if I am writing and anonymously I am keeping into different servers and at a randomly one service at one place, so this is called DDoS. The most of the websites which are not able to access, or sometimes when you are accessing that the web page not found, these things are coming because of this denial of service attack only, this distributed denial of service attack. Lot of things we will learn indefinitely here, but you are understood about this. The availability problem is the access to the information. Whatever that you are planning to access, you are not able to do that. And what could be things you do for making available those applications? You need to use some kind of a backups. In case somebody is trying to control the information, you can access from your backup, preventing information and resources from being inaccessible when needed. What you have to do that? If in any particular member is doing from the different place, like in case of continuously denial of service from one system, that IP should be blocked. Such is what the backup. So, and actually you can use a different mechanism not to make that availability. If trying to somebody is giving your user ID and password, that should come to your mobile. So whether you need to give the access or not. So now second factor, you can use your mobile. If somebody is trying to access your Gmail ID, so that if you given this mobile number, it gives you a message that whether you can access, trying to access Gmail from so and so system. When you say yes, then only he can access. So even he is trying to giving the different passwords from the respective system, he cannot make it because you are not allowing, other than if anybody is accessing. So such kind of control backup you need to take care of by implementing this availability. Now coming to the second critical characteristic. So while we are transferring the one data from another data, if somebody is intercepting your data, like intercepting means like a telephone tapping. If so you both are talking to each other, somebody is tapping your data, what happens? So what is that? This is the against to the confidentiality. Whatever you are speaking in the data, that it is against to the confidentiality. So that means, so when your data is traveling from one point to another point, so if anybody can see your data, there is no confidentiality. How do we avoid it? So the confidentiality is like you need to have to limit access to the information. That is what main motto of the confidentiality. Whomever wanted to access that particular that and authorized to access, so that you need to make it as part of the confidentiality. So encryption is the one of the best solution for this confidentiality problem, because if you encrypted the data, even though the data travels across the globe to deliver it in your end system, so definitely even though they collect the data, they cannot make themselves, they cannot read themselves because that information is encrypted. So that information is not delivered to anybody. That's what you need to inform confidentiality. So what kind of thing you can say that confidentiality, for example, maybe if you know very well about network devices, hub is shared device. Let's taking example, avoid this hub, like wireless access point. You usually connect to your at your home, and while you are transferring the messages, let's say wireless access point is a kind of broadcast device. So where when you are sending to message to others, because it doesn't understand about the addressing system, by having a broadcast device, it delivers whomever connected by the time to the wireless access point. Let's say you are sending in a critical message from your home, but somebody is already connected who is a non-member of your family and trying to monitoring, because you can easily monitoring continuously if you enable your Wi-Fi power on for 2 days, 3 days, and continuously we collect the data packets even though you are keeping in the hidden mode, so that they can identify that your SSID and all, and try to can then collect the data. So whatever the information, if you are sending that, if it is not encrypted, because he is also receiving, so definitely you can see that message. So that's what we always request while we are doing cyber awareness for general home users. We always say that anyway you are getting in a wireless broadband is having in a security option, where in that security option all devices, your devices which you are connecting, whether it could be a PC, whether it could be a mobile, whether it could be a gaming device, all these devices when they connected to the Wi-Fi, they have their own MAC address. MAC address is media access control address, or your physical address, or also we called as an a hardware address. So either one you can use, any name you can use for this address, where it is depend on your network card. That network card is having on this, this address is having this network card. That's what we called it as a physical address and hardware address. So this is, we cannot change it. You can spoof it definitely, but you cannot change. Once you restart it, comes its original. So all these MAC addresses you list down and enable that in your router, broadband router, Wi-Fi router. Tell that only these devices can connect to that devices. All other devices you can automatically disable, so that you are much confident that nobody is connected to your Wi-Fi device and nobody can track your data. So the confidentiality could be implemented in that way. And now coming to the critical caches of information 3, he is basically is a modification. So when you are sending the data to a particular user, like an example you are planning to send here is the hi, HEAI. This is the message, but somebody in between the data they were taken your hi message into hello and delivered. So that does mean that whatever whoever recipient, he thinks that you sent a message hello instead of hi. This is what modification problem, where modification problem gives you that problem of integrity. So that integrity of the data is very much important. So what is exactly the assurance to the information is nothing but integrity. How do you prevent, how do you avoid this kind of a problem of integrity? You need to use hashing algorithms, preventing unauthorized subjects from modifying the information. Let's example, you are downloading a software from a particular website. Let's say when you are planning to download Wireshark or any other tool, they mention definitely an MD5 check. Maybe you have seen when you are trying to download, right side MD5 check, because whatever they hosted, when they calculated hash of that software, that is what they got the MD5. It could be a 128. If the MD5 is not there, SHA1 algorithm 160-bit would be there. So either one, once you download it from the internet machine to your local machine, you can run these checks, so that once you run SHA algorithm on that particular download, definitely you also get 160 bit address. So this 160 bit address and whatever they mentioned in the server could be same. If they are not same, that means in the download, whatever that actual member installed one is the integrity, somebody changes, somebody may be more modified. So both should be same. So whenever you are doing in future, when you are download, you please ask that. And basically where the problem comes here, suppose Microsoft has been given a patch for a particular their vulnerability of an application. The patch, the same patch is available in third-party agencies. When you are approaching Microsoft website, that patch we are not able to identify it. But however, when you type that patch for so and so problem, There are third-party agencies also giving this patch. But what is that guarantee that those patches were modified by these third-party applications and downloading? When you download, they can monitor you. That's what you have to take at least Microsoft.com, the patch, whatever the MD5 and the SAR1 algorithm. And while you are downloading from third party, you need to check that the both MD5 or either an MD5 or SAR1 checksums are same or not. If they are not same, so that they definitely the third party agencies modified something what Microsoft has been given. So we need to check that also while we are doing for assuring of the information whatever you are downloaded. So this is where the integrity problem can be solved. Refers to the situation where all information exchanges required. One level of confidence that is would be open to public, need to know secret, top secret, risk with the disclosure, particularly there is a disclosure. So there is always a relation between confidentiality to disclosure. Maybe these two are mutual exclusive. By integrating that the data is accurate, is best and does not change during transmission or after reaching the destination. For this, we may use some quality change. Okay. Choose. Unless as per the integrity one. The data
No, sir, there is a problem with your audio.
software will host the data. Hello. So the basically that these are the confidential while we are having the confidentiality and the disclosure as mutual exclusive statements. At the same time, integrity and alteration are also the mutual exclusive statements. So where the confidentiality is having the problem, that does mean that what? Disclosing the things. When integrity is having problem means somebody is altering the data. So that is what the major thing we need to consider with respect to the confidentiality and integrity. So now coming to the availability means what? Is if there is a such information is not available means somebody might have distracted. So that's what distraction and availability are mutual exclusive statements for this one. So for confidentiality, integrity, availability, whatever we say that CIA tried, So the respect to CA triad, we always understand about that triad also: disclosure, alteration, and destruction. So confidentiality and disclosure, integrity and alteration, availability and destruction are mutual exclusive statements. So let's take example confidentiality as an example. So when we are doing an ATM card transaction, what exactly you required? For ATM card, you required an ATM card. Am I right? And also PIN. That is why two-factor authentication. Either one, it is not there. Either ATM card is not there, PIN is available, the transaction cannot be done. If PIN is not available and card is there with you, the transaction cannot be done. There itself we are using two-factor authentication. Of course, the multi-factor authentication importance we will learn while we are going to the various classes. But here is the important point. What we need to understand is when it is implementing as a confidentiality, so that the transaction which is happening at the ATM card to bank server is happening and immediately updating your account. Suppose if you are debiting and a 10,000 rupees from your account, that is updating immediately in your account, and whatever the amount you have, 1 lakh rupee, that 10,000 rupee would be deducted, 90,000 rupees immediately you are getting what exactly that receipt, so that it is updating in the bank. Wherever you take example, wherever bank ATM, whichever the bank ATM, but it is able to update. That's what the confidentiality they created by implementing this kind of things. So of course, for multi-factor authentication, something you know, something you have, something you are. Something you know is the PIN, something you have is the card, something you are maybe a biometric thing. So that way you use the multi-factor authentication for implementing such kind of an activity. So let's take example of a case study. Here the question here, because by this time you understood what is exactly the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and respect to dad. Now I'm giving in a case study to you. What factor of the CIDDA tried can the credit card company be best said to have violated? So this is what the question and multiple choices were given. Now we will go to that. What is that best said to have violated company? Comments is that, oh sorry. So basically what is exactly this case study is that, see that the company was having in a CDs and hard disk, they throw it into the dustbin, and somebody is collected from the dustbin, and the data, the email IDs of our entire the credit card company was leaked, and they were taken after collecting the data, they were hosted in the dark web. Now, why this company was throwing the data without checking properly, that I don't know. You have to tell that. But here my question is that what factor of that factor is confidentiality, or the factor is destruction? Factor could be identification or availability. That is what my question. Let me see analysis. The confidential data without destroying the media. If media is unreadable, it should be physically destroyed or even burnt to avoid losing confidential data. That's what first analysis. Because of whatever the data present situation, there are a lot of cloud operations came. The clouding data is came into the picture. So entire data they transferred into the cloud, and whatever the CDs, whatever the hard disk they have, because of that data is already available in the cloud, and they kept into stores. But in the last 10 years, the store was filled with a lot of CDs, lot of hard disks. So they wanted to throw it out because they have only have seen that the data is available in their cloud. They don't have any problem. To avoid this space things, they simply throw this data because they are not able, the present systems, what they have, they can't run their CD drives. Only they all are with the USB devices, not CD-ROM devices, so that all CDs are thrown it, and whatever the hard disks are there, they are old hard disks. So that's what they were not able to keep not required. They are not able to access. They thought that, see, when they are not able to access, how they could be useful? There are hundreds of CDs, thousands of CDs are there, thousands of hard disks are there. They simply throw it and anybody can't access in such a way that the thought process is that when we are not able to demolish it or destroy it, how others can access the same information, and simply to throw it in a dustbin and somebody is collected, they use it. Still, if you see that my first computer operating system is 64 MB RAM, 64 MB RAM, 64 and 4 GB hard disk. You see, those devices are still working in Linux oriented machines. Then when I'm keeping this CD-ROM drive, of course, I cannot access the DVD because that device is having CD-ROM drive, and still it works. This data hard disk, I can keep it. Somebody has collected the data in similar, and they were entire accessed their email IDs. So here is identification is not at all problem, because so what is that they were done all these things at this itself is that. So then second is the availability, because they are made available to everybody, not only for them. They made available in their cloud and they've thrown to outside, and others also they can access. If they wanted to buy it, they can access. That is what the availability. So that availability is not the identification. They were properly identified, so that's what, that is also not a problem. And destruction, they never made this data, so availability is given, so that destruction is not a problem. So majorly the problem is that confidentiality. So like that, you need to analyze any kind of simple case study for while you are implementing these things. I hope you understand, and if anybody is having doubts, let me know that, so I'll try to explain. So along beyond the CI triad, there is a Donna Procker proposed and a six-sided model, so that the confidentiality, integrity, and availability is anyway we required, but however, possessing and ownership and controlling of that data is very important while we are implementing this security. Along with that, confidentiality, integrity, and available. Of course, authenticity. So when you are implementing possession or ownership, then definitely you will enable them to understand who is the right person to access, so that authentication, authorization, and accountability definitely is required, so that authenticity would be there. So this should be given as a utility. Utility is for what? For whom? So while we are implementing authentication, authorization, and accountability, so you make it as a service, so that service who can access, those only can access. Here, before closing my session, I would like to inform that the security implements two things to implement this authentication, authorization, and accountability. The first one is the least principal activity. So whatever the least principal says, that whomever should know, that they only should know that information. They should access only that information. So least principle. And when it is a second one is segregation, that when you are doing a job of a continuous job, that should be divided into three parts, and that should be accessible with that particular three jobs into the for three different people, so that you need to exchange those three people, talk to each other and share each other, so that any frauds can be prevented, because it's one member is not involved. While you are considering segregation of details, that should be the enable, so that so you know that where the frauds are happening. One member is trying to hide, other two members know that fraud and implemented. So if you are giving the entire job to one person to do from the first to last, and for after few, initially it may be good, but after few months or few years, the frauds will start. So to avoid such frauds, you have to use segregation of jobs for implementing a continuous activity. With this, I'm very thankful to all of you for this your patience and all. Of course, this patience should be there to entire 8 hours. We thought to do this is continuously for like in a 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But see the time and availability and the people at the ministry and even the PMO is designed this course to implement in such a way that, so please be patient and please be learn by yourself, and definitely we will help you in the next 1 month. Whenever you get anywhere a kind of a new topic is required and you are not able to understand something, we try to create video or we try to establish some classes for you, definitely to be part of this cybersecurity. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to meet you all. So definitely we will sure we try to do all the support as you required. We have established two systems. One is email, one is WhatsApp. All these things would be definitely we will do that. Thank you very much. So I'm transferring the my thing to the CDAC, Mrs. Neha, CDAC Noida, for taking over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. It was great to listen regarding introduction to cybersecurity and the concepts related to that. Now, I think we should